I didn't really have a plan. It was just a regular Wednesday morning. The sun was soft. I was spreading butter on toast. And the words simply came out. "Let's go somewhere this weekend," I said. I looked up at him, still holding the butter knife. "Nothing fancy. I was thinking that lake house you said you liked. It's close, peaceful. I'll book everything. You don't have to do a thing." I smiled, casually, but my heart was quietly holding its breath. I don't know why I said it just then. Maybe because it had been a while since we'd gone anywhere together. Not for work, not for errands, not for obligation. Just together. I wanted him in the driver's seat again. Not just behind the wheel, but beside me. Fully. I wanted us to wake up early, hear the birds, sip coffee on a little patio filled with light. To walk down some quiet dirt path, saying nothing, and not feeling awkward. To have him look at me, not with that "I'll get to it" expression, but with one that said, "I'm here, really here." I didn't say all that, of course. I just said, "I've already picked the place. What do you think?" And I passed him the honey jar, still smiling as if I wasn't hoping for anything. But truth is, I was hoping for a lot. He didn't even pause, didn't look up, just kept typing on his laptop while reaching for the coffee. "This weekend? I've got that thing on Saturday, and a call with the regional team Sunday morning. Can we do next week instead?" His tone was calm, sweet even, like someone offering a rain check on ice cream. I nodded. "Yeah, of course." I smiled, like a reasonable adult, and I cleared the dishes like a very understanding wife. But inside, I was pouting like a 5-year-old who just got told no to the beach. He wasn't being cruel. He didn't forget. He wasn't distant or cold or dismissive. He was just busy and kind about it. And somehow that made it worse, because it gave me no reason to be upset. And yet, I still was. I wanted to stomp my foot, throw a tiny emotional tantrum, shout, "But I already packed our snacks!" I didn't, of course. Instead, I wiped the counter, told myself he means well, and quietly hated him a little for being so calm, so logical, so not here. I opened our group chat, the 4 Seasons of Chaos. Typed without thinking. "Picnic this Sunday? I seriously need air." 1 minute later, a giant yes in all caps. A gif of someone screaming, "Get me out of here!" And a message. "My picnic blanket's been in the trunk since last spring. Ready?" I laughed out loud. This was so them. No one asked why I needed it. No one needed a full plan. No one asked who else was going. Just one signal. One, "I need out." And the whole flock took flight. We've known each other long enough to skip the small talk. With them, I get to whine, collapse, throw shade at life, and stretch out on the grass like a tired grandma. No one fixes me. No one says cheer up. Sometimes they just hand me another milk tea. With them, I don't have to be anyone. Not the patient wife, not the cheerful coworker, not the emotionally mature grown woman. I get to be me, as I am. And somehow that's always enough. I started digging through the kitchen. Melon slices, sesame crackers, jasmine tea, half a jar of olives from Christmas. It'll do. All great picnics begin with leftovers, friendship, and bad jokes. I sat down. Watched the messages keep coming, fast and silly and full of life. And I felt something in me lighten. Like I just peeled off a coat I didn't know I'd been wearing for days. I still kind of hated that next week I promised from him, but at the edge of that hate was soft now. Not because I forgave him, but because I realized I could still choose joy, with or without him. I sent one more message. "I'm bringing a blanket and my fragile little soul." The text flew off. And just like that, I knew Sunday was going to be a very, very good day. We didn't go far. Just a small park on the edge of the city. Not fancy. A bit dry, some ants. The kind of place you'd forget if not for the people you brought with you. We spread out 3 mismatched blankets, half crumpled from the trunk. One of the girls brought fruit, another brought chips, and someone, God bless her, brought cold lychee tea in a thermos. We didn't do anything special. We didn't take many pictures, no yoga poses or curated shots with hats and floating dresses. We just sat, told the same stories we always tell, laughed at things that wouldn't make anyone else laugh, looked up at the sky, looked at each other. I didn't plan to feel better. I didn't come out expecting some magical turnaround. Honestly, I still had a little sulk tucked in my chest.
But somehow, between a mouthful of mango and a bad imitation of our old high school math teacher,
I caught myself laughing, really laughing.
and it felt like something cracked open, quietly, kindly.
Not because life was perfect,
But because, in that moment, it didn't need to be.
I looked around at the people who knew every version of me,
The angry one, the dramatic one, the one who vanishes sometimes.
and still, here they were, passing me grapes and sunscreen like it's the most normal thing in the world. I didn't try to feel happy.
But joy just found its way back in,
Softly,
as if it had always been there, waiting.
I lay back on our worn-out blanket, my head resting on a soft old backpack.
Above me, a patch of pale blue sky, sunlight flickering through the leaves.
The breeze lifted my hair, then let it fall softly.
And just like that, my heart began to soften too.
No one said a word.
The girls were half chewing, half watching clouds drift. We didn't need to fill the silence. We'd known each other long enough to recognize this. Some silences are a kind of closeness all their own. I let out a deep breath. The kind that empties not just your lungs, but something tighter, hidden beneath your ribs. And for the first time in weeks, I wasn't pretending to be okay.
I was just being. I thought of him.
His next week, I promise. His guilty little smile. I wasn't all that mad anymore. But no, I didn't feel noble either. The truth? He didn't really deserve my anger.
But still,
The version of him who used to spoil me, that part of him, I missed. I wanted it back. Even so, in this exact moment, I needed nothing else to feel complete.
I sank a little deeper into the blanket.
My fingers brushed the grass, and for a fleeting second, I felt it. I was alive, not busy, not chasing, not pretending to be fine. Just me, under the sun, listening to the wind, surrounded by women who love me in the quietest, truest ways. And that moment, more complete than any fancy getaway I ever dreamed of. He wasn't there. No hand holding mine.
No shared blanket.
No half smile from across the grass. But strangely, I didn't feel the absence the way I thought I would.
I looked to my left.
And saw a friend picking leaves out of her hair. To my right, another one was peeling an orange with the focus of a surgeon. We weren't talking, just being, and it struck me how full a moment could be, even without romance, even without the one you thought you needed there to make it matter.
It wasn't a protest. I wasn't trying to prove I was fine without him. I wasn't pretending I didn't care.
But the truth is, sometimes when you stop chasing closeness, you start noticing the closeness you already have. The ones who show up, the ones who don't need reminding, the ones who bring fruit and tea and quiet laughter on a Sunday afternoon. And in their presence, I didn't feel half-loved. I didn't feel abandoned.
I didn't feel like a woman waiting to be chosen.
I felt whole, exactly as I was, lying there, the sun warm on my skin,
surrounded by simple things that didn't ask for anything in return.
He wasn't there, and I didn't need him to be, not for this moment.
Not to feel joy.
Not to feel me. I reached for my glass of tea.
My fingers were still cool from the grass.
That first touch, skin meeting glass, surprised me. The chill from the drink moved slowly into my palm, like a quiet visitor. It was such a small thing, so simple, but in that moment I felt touched by life. Not by a person, not by anything dramatic, but by the world itself, in the softest possible way. I lifted the cup. The scent of jasmine drifted up, barely there. I took a small sip, and for a second it felt like I could hear the sunlight falling onto the grass. One of the girls reached over and gently brushed my hair aside. Just muscle memory, no words. Not out of politeness. Not because I needed it.
Just because that's how it is between people who've stayed beside each other long enough to speak in gestures.
I looked down at my hands, at the veins, the sunspots, the tiny kitchen scars that make no sense out of context. I smiled. This body has been tired, bruised, stretched thin, but it's still here. And today, it's living with me, not just dragging me along. There was no rush of joy, no fireworks,
just a layer inside me slowly melting,
making space for something softer, something lighter, something quietly alive. A gentle touch. To my hand, to my hair, to my heart. And I knew Just one moment of noticing was enough to feel how gently life was still holding me. I didn't plan it. The smile just came, not a big one, not for show, not the kind you give when someone points a camera at you. It was quiet. It rose slowly, like something that had been waiting inside, not to be performed, but to be felt. I caught my reflection in the rim of the thermos, just a blur, but I saw the shape of my face softened, not glowing, not transformed, just more myself than I'd been in a while. There was no milestone today, no big realization, no life-changing clarity, but there was presence, there was gentleness, there was laughter, and there was me, showing up, fully, without asking anyone's permission. I thought of him again, of how he would have smiled if he saw me like this. Not posed, not performing fun, just being, and maybe, just maybe, that would have reminded him too of the version of me he first fell in love with. But I didn't linger there, because this moment wasn't about him. It was about me, remembering myself, not through pain, not through fixing, but through feeling. I smiled again, this time a little fuller, and I whispered to no one in particular, "There you are. I still don't know what I'll do after today." There's no grand plan, no major milestone waiting to be checked off. Just this quiet, steady feeling that maybe I've already begun, not with a speech, not with a declaration, not with a bold new version of myself, but with a tiny shift. The way I walked out the door this morning, the way I smiled without anyone asking, the way I laid back and let the breeze remind me I'm still here, and I'm still allowed to feel good, even if nothing's fixed. I wasn't ready. I'm still a little tired, still a little moody, still the kind of person who gets annoyed when someone cancels plans I was excited about. But I'm no longer hiding, no longer waiting for the right moment to show up, no longer holding my joy hostage to a future version of myself. Today was enough. Not because it changed everything, but because I showed up for it. And maybe that's all beginning again really means. Not effort, not force, just a soft, brave act of saying yes to life one more time. And if you're still here, still breathing, still wondering whether it's okay to begin again, let this be your quiet reminder. You don't need permission. You're already on your way. And the world hasn't forgotten how to hold you gently.